Alrighty everyone, now this month is a month to celebrate for because we have the Ahsoka series that is now officially done filming. They have wrapped principal photography and moving on to post. And also we have, of course, the Mandalorian Season 3 getting very close, just a couple of weeks more to go until they are getting ready to wrap post-production, giving them, of course, 2 whole months to begin marketing the series and building up the hype for the show. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been very worried about is exactly where Jon and Dave are going with, of course, the Star Wars franchise. They're very worried that they might not be able to accomplish the whole goal that they have in mind because of what Kathleen Kennedy is about to sabotage with Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte. Now, granted that they are helping out with those 2 shows to prevent it from being a total disaster, the thing that fans are worrying about is that those 2 shows could very well destroy the momentum of positivity for the Star Wars fandom. Now, with that being said and all, I don't believe that'll be the case. I think that there's a lot of smart people out there that do realize that both Acolyte and Skeleton Crew are Kathleen Kennedy-driven projects. It comes as no surprise if they're not going to do well with the ratings or the fans, and that it shouldn't really shift our focus away from what Jon and Dave are set out on doing. They are 2 separate things entirely. Now, with that being said, however, Disney CEO Bob Iger, he's been having quite, a crazy couple of weeks ever since he came back to Disney and running everything after he took over Bob Chapek, and Bob Chapek was fired. There's been a lot of things happening. So with Disney now trying to create a brighter future for Star Wars, both Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte right now are Disney's biggest worries for the franchise. As of now, fired Disney CEO Bob Chapek has been more vocal recently about this time at Disney and working with Lucasfilm. Now, in a recent interview, Chapek went on to reveal some crucial things by stating the following to the fans. During my time leading this company, we had learned about what Mr. Iger was set out to do with the Star Wars brand, and it's something that myself and the board made sure to put to a halt. What we learned is that Mr. Iger was allowing Kathy to work on a strategy to completely erase and tune out and stop Jon and Dave's work with the Star Wars franchise a couple of years ago, and to keep their role in Star Wars limited to around 4 years only. They were not fond of Jon and or Dave at the time, just around when The Mandalorian Season 1 was debuting on Disney+, and that they wanted to have creators that would listen to Miss Kennedy more so accordingly. So let me just pause here for a second. Now, this absolutely matches with what we talked about back in 2021, where FAVREAU and Kathleen Kennedy were having a lot of creative differences on The Mandalorian Season 1 when he was creating this thing back in 2019, and it matches with what Chapek is talking about right now, is that Kennedy wanted Jon and Dave out because they were not agreeing with Kathleen Kennedy's path on The Mandalorian. I don't know if you guys have been following, for the past month where I talked about this specifically, but Jon himself unveiled that originally he wanted characters like Ahsoka, Luke, Ezra, Thrawn, the whole deal in the first season, but Kathleen Kennedy was not allowing him to do that. It caused a lot of problems and a lot of issues behind the doors, of course, of Mandalorian as a series. And that's exactly why we got a lot of those cameos suddenly in Season 2, and how we're going to get even more of them in Season 3. So, moving on to what Chapek has to say, and Chapek, by the way, has been a pretty good sport after he got fired. You don't really hear him complaining too much about his departure. At the end of the day, I think it's because he realizes that he was really the fall guy for Bob Iger, and he knew this from the very beginning and just was not being open about it. I think that's definitely what it was, and why he's not really complaining too much about his, firing, so to speak. However, one thing that I can agree on is that Chapek did a superior job than Bob Iger, at least with the Star Wars franchise, not so much on Disney parks, but he really allowed Jon and Dave to do their thing, to just let them have complete freedom in what they love to do, and that's exactly why we're getting so much now. So, moving on. He goes on to say, that is something that Favreau and Filoni did not agree to, and it caused complications behind closed doors, and it was just a messy situation that we had to handle. When I was brought in, I made sure of that to not happen and to keep John and Dave working on these projects for well over 10 years at minimum. They are creative folks, and I think that they have a great road ahead of them, but at the time, Mr. Iger and Mrs. Kennedy wanted nothing more to do with them after the first season of Mando, since they pitched their ideas of bringing back original trilogy characters and fan favorites. This is why I made sure myself and Iger came to an agreement to actually keep John and Dave on, and thankfully Mr. Iger has had a change of heart. So, thankfully Bob Iger, his mind was switched because of chapek, but let's look at the true picture here. Iger realizes that if he were to cancel John and Dave now, he would get so much backlash it wouldn't even be funny. I mean, it would be off the charts. So of course he's going to agree to what chapek told him before he got fired, to let John and Dave keep their control, keep their privileges and their promotions, let that remain as is, keep that grandfathered in. And so Bob Iger agreed to that, and you know what? He agreed because he knows he has to. He has to. And that brings us to where we stand today. And that really gives us, the fans, an opportunity to see that John and Dave really have a golden ticket here to repair the Star Wars franchise, to bring it back full circle, back to George Lucas's vision, truly, and to really just satisfy everybody around the globe. Now, for those of you that don't know, chapek has been saying a lot of things over the years. He has always been saying how John and Dave are the future, and how they really do have quite a unique mindset of Star Wars, and that is something that they really value and cherish. Now, the thing about this too is that when you look at shows like Mando 3 and Mando 4 being worked on back to back, it does remind you of what they did with Lord of the Rings or the Avatar films and stuff like that. It just goes to show you their work ethic is off the charts. Amazing. I mean, these are the kind of people I do respect, people that have an amazing work ethic like that in the film industry. It's kind of rare, to be honest. You don't really see this all that much on a level of John and Dave. They are working on over a dozen Star Wars TV shows, let that sink in, at the same exact time, that are all in different phases of development. I get that, some of which are in early development, which, yeah, there's not all that much work that goes into that phase, but still, it's a brainstorming phase. The rest, you got pre-production, you've got post, you got principal photography. I mean, they're doing a lot. I mean, this is their life, and I like that they have that mindset. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.